So, this week, I have been working with a lot of my clients on how to handle their toxic work environments. So, I totally understand that what that means to you might be totally different than what it means to one of my clients, but I have noticed a few themes show up, and I would like to talk you through a few techniques to handle those toxic work situations today. Just to rewind a bit, I want you to know that as a communication coach, I work with my clients in a variety of topics, on a variety of topics. And there's probably three buckets that I predominantly work with my clients on. One, preparation strategy for presentations. So you have a big talk coming up, you have a TED talk, you have a presentation to the board, you are speaking at a conference. I can help you work on your talk, organize your talk, prepare so you're not terrified, especially the night before, and so that it goes really well and you're asked to speak again. The second bucket that I work with my clients on is delivery techniques. So let's say that for whatever reason you feel like you're not making the impact, being as effective, getting the job through an interview process that you think you should be, because of some way that you're showing up, something about your delivery. Maybe it's the sound of your voice you feel, or maybe you feel like you just don't communicate a lot of authority or confidence with your voice or body language. I'm here to help you to diagnose it, figure out what you need to do, and move forward so that you ultimately have your presence match your resume, all the skill sets that you bring, the value you bring, and your career history. That's the second bucket. The third bucket is how to have these difficult conversations, is what I'll call them. So this could involve how to ask for a promotion. This could involve how to give feedback to somebody who's on your team. This could involve how to receive feedback. This also can involve how to handle situations where you don't feel like you are being recognized for who you are, you're not being respected. These are also in the bucket of difficult conversations. So, I'll just say that in general, people feel that they are in a toxic work environment when are being spoken to or treated in a way that makes them feel disrespected, not seen or heard. And so, in those situations, all of a sudden we kind of cringe or we feel less important or lesser than. And that doesn't feel good. And all of a sudden we start to feel like I got to do something about this. Otherwise, my presence, my command, my credibility is going to go down the toilet, especially inside myself. I'm going to feel less confident inside myself. So this is often what we're experiencing when we're in a toxic work situation. Let's just go through like three examples of what might be happening and what you can do about it. So, the first example I'll say is when somebody doesn't acknowledge what you say. So, let's say you speak up during a meeting and you are politely overlooked, or maybe not so politely, or maybe very bluntly or blatantly, but the room is quiet and maybe the crowd or the group picks up on what the next person says. So, this can happen for a variety of reasons. There might actually be friction between you and somebody else in the room. It might be purposeful, it might be pointed. It also might be totally through oblivion or ignorance. Regardless of the situation, there is something you can do about it. And that is check in. Check in with a request for feedback. So you might, let's say, for example, deliver your point of view and then ask the room, did that make sense? Or did you hear what I said? Or did is there consensus around this? Does this sound like a positive action or something that we can do? And when you ask a question like the last question that actually requires an answer, then it really pushes the other people to give you the feedback, even if they don't want to give you that feedback. Even better, you come up with a question that cannot be answered with a yes or no, and you ask that in order to get a response. Tell me what areas of what I said need further explanation. That would be an example of a question that you could ask as a follow-up question, a check-in question to require a response that's more than yes or no, more than a head nod. And when you do this, you force a dialogue, right? You are asking to be recognized. And sometimes that is enough to begin, excuse me, that is enough to begin to turn the ship, right? Change the way people see you and the way people know it's okay to interact with you. So that is one scenario. Another scenario is being consistently interrupted, right? This could feel very familiar, very painful, definitely a way to negate you or to have somebody else's voice always kind of dominant in the room. And from this, we will pull, a great phrase from our current presidential candidate and say something like, I'm still talking, or I haven't finished. So there was something that was very powerful and effective when she did that. And it also can be done with lots of empathy, kindness, and care. It doesn't have to be weaponized in any way. You can say it simply and humbly that you would like to finish your thought, and then the other person can proceed. So you could say something like, may I finish my thought? And then I would love to hear what you have to say. So you're not only designating that you would like the time and the respect to finish your thought and speak, but you're also letting the other person know what to expect next, that they will also be given the microphone or the platform. And that's a way that we can be very generous in our communication. So, those are two ways in which we can kind of feel like we're in a toxic situation, and we can start to shift the dynamic in the room. The third situation that I'll mention is when somebody maybe talks down to you a little bit and asks you to take notes, or, in a very stereotypical way, asks you to go get the coffee for everybody else in the room. You can use your creativity and think about, what is that for you? How do you feel talked down to, spoken down to? Maybe everybody else is sir and mister, and you are just Sarah, right? And just kind of the use of your name, whereas everyone else is much formal, can communicate something to you that doesn't feel good. So maybe the first thing to notice is that doesn't feel good. And the second thing to do is to stop the conversation and correct the other person. So, from my point of view, my philosophy, it's our job to communicate to other people how we want to be treated and worked with and spoken to and communicated to, what we need. It's nobody else's job to figure that out. It's our job to communicate how we want to be worked with in the world, in the workplace. And so it might feel a little bit awkward. It might feel like it disrupts the flow. That's okay. Sometimes we have to have some growing pains in order to actually get the respect that we need in order to do our job to the best of our ability. So, these are three ways to deal with what might be your toxic work environment. And what I want you to take away from all three of these techniques is that there are a couple of common denominators here. One, whatever situation it is, whatever the environment, the interaction is, in every situation, one of the most important things for you to do is to simply stop the conversation, stop the situation, stop the role of communication, or the role of the group conversation. This might feel unnatural. This might feel uncomfortable. That's okay. Part of us growing and developing on our leadership journey is to be okay with things feeling awkward or uncomfortable. Once we can do that, then we have access to choice. We can make a new choice in that situation. So if you don't want to keep being treated the way that you're being treated, then you must do the work of stopping the situation, making it a little bit awkward, and teaching the other person how to communicate to you, how to interact with you, how you feel respected and feel good in the conversation so that you can show up to the best of your ability and do your best work. So, common denominator number one, stop the flow of the conversation. Common denominator number two is you teach the other person, again, how you want to be communicated with. And slowly but surely, you will turn this ship. So once you do this little dance about 3 times, you will have retaught the community that you're in how they need to work with you and speak to you and with you, and how you are going to show up in a conversation. So, your communication style. And so, the good news is all you have to do, you only have to do this about 3 times. And then you will have shifted how you show up, how people expect you to show up, and how people treat you. So, hopefully, this is helpful. Again, communication is so broad. So, there's many things we can work on. And this is one area where I can support you.